Richard Morgan, Morgan and DeSalvo. This topic is on portability election. So prior to 2010, temporarily, and 2013 permanently, each spouse would get an exemption from the estate tax. You needed to take particular actions in order to use that exemption of the first spouse to die. And if you didn't take those actions by using a trust or having those assets passed to a non-spouse, non-charity, you didn't actually use the exemption. It just went poof and went away. So in 2010, temporarily, in 2013, permanently, we now have something called a portability election. That allows the executor of the first spouse's estate to elect to port or transfer over any unused estate tax exemption from the first spouse to die over to the surviving spouse, which now leaves open the possibility of passing all your assets to the surviving spouse outright without having a tax problem. And in order to get that portability election, to get that exemption passed over from the first spouse to the second spouse, you need to file a timely estate tax return. Now, there was a question about how soon you need to file. Here's the bottom line today. If you are required at the first spouse's death to file the estate tax return, the death tax return, it's an IRS Form 706. If you're required, that means the gross estate, the total amount of assets without considering debt, is more than the exempt amount that year, then you're required to file it. And in that case, to do the portability election, it must be filed within 9 months of the person's date of death. You can have 1 6-month extension if the extension was requested on time, so the maximum is 15 months. If you are not required to file that return, your gross estate at the value of all your assets is less than the exempt amount, then you are not required to, and the IRS has more power to give you more leeway on timing. So in 2017, under Revenue Procedure 2017-34, the IRS gave us a gift, and they said that as long as you follow the rules in that revenue procedure, you have up to 2 years after someone dies to make that election. So you have that 2-year window if you're not required to file the return. And since today the exemptions are quite large, probably 99% or more of the population will not be required to file that return at the first death. And because of that, most people have a 2-year window to file that return to make sure you get that first exemption from the estate tax. Richard Morgan, Morgan and DeSalvo.